Senator Saland.
Mr. President. This bill has been commonly referred to over the course of the past week or so as the cyberbullying bill. And yes, it is a cyberbullying bill, but it does more than that. What this bill does is, within the framework of what had been the Dignity for All Students Act, it expands upon that framework so that any and all students who are bullied, regardless of the specific classes identified within Dignity for All Students, they will now be afforded the same protections and more so than were provided under that bill, because the more so includes cyberbullying. And cyberbullying basically means electronic means or electronic communications. The simple fact of the matter is the state of the art is such that one never knows what will constitute electronic means or electronic communications, the state of the art constantly evolving. What we do know is that bullying, by any stretch of the imagination, transcends whatever may be the immediacy of the event. So that if somebody is physically bullied, if somebody is bullied electronically, not only do they endure the pain, the trauma of that particular moment, but they live it and relive it, and continuously can relive it in the instance of the 24/7 repetitive, never-ending use of electronic means to torment, to taunt, regardless of what the reason may be. And it may well have to do with somebody's sexual orientation, it may well have to do with their race, it may well have to do with their religion, but it could be something as tragically foolish as the way somebody dresses, or the perception that that somebody somehow or other has intervened in a relationship between two other people, or the fact that perhaps they dress differently. The possibilities are just infinite for the reasons for which somebody gets bullied. And what this does is, not only does it recognize this variety, but it says, and very importantly says, that that bullying will find its way, or if it does find its way, to the schoolroom, to the classroom, and if in fact that bullying reasonably causes, or would reasonably be expected to cause, emotional harm or physical injury, or if it occurs off property, off school property, and creates a foreseeable risk of substantial disruption within the school environment, that rises to the level of bullying, harassment, or intimidation. Now, in addition, there is not only a duty to report these incidents and report them within no more than 2 days, but if it rises to the level of criminal conduct, there is a duty to promptly report to local law enforcement. And there are a multitude of instances under the existing law where that could rise to criminal activity. So, for example, under 240.30 of the penal law, aggravated harassment would be applicable, where somebody used electronic means intended to threaten, harass, or annoy, and if there was some attempt to do so, where there was an attempt to engage in physical conduct. Not necessarily engage in the physical conduct, but merely attempt to engage in that conduct. And were someone to do that twice within 10 years, that would be elevated from an A misdemeanor to an E felony. If it amounted to something in the nature of a hate crime, there would be another bump up in terms of the degree of the crime. And obviously, if it's the old, quote-unquote, schoolyard bully type of event where somebody physically abuses, beats up on somebody, there's a host of criminal charges, starting with assault and working its way up, misdemeanors, felonies. So there are certainly applications of the criminal law that could arise from such conduct, and they are buttressed by the duty to promptly report to law enforcement. This will go a long way a very long way. Can I say that this is somehow or other going to miraculously bring an end to bullying? We've probably had bullying since shortly after creation. And I'm sure bullying is not going to end with the enactment of this legislation, but it will mitigate, it will provide a template within which to deal with that bullying, it will provide the means for schools to intervene, it will provide a progressive model by which to use either intervention, education, or discipline, in addition to those instances where it rises to the level of a crime and the existing law would cover it. So I would encourage all of my colleagues to support this bill. It's a bill that's been a long time in the making. It's a bill that we in New York could be very proud of. And I'd be terribly remiss if I did not acknowledge the collaboration of many. The governor certainly was involved with these negotiations. Assemblyman O'Donnell was involved with these negotiations. Our senior staff was involved, working closely with me during the course of these negotiations. I say thanks to all of them and thank them for their contributions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Saland.